Hi, good evening, boss.
Good
How are
evening,
you?
Raghav. I'm good.
Good
How
evening.
are you?
I am actually quite lucky, Brijesh, because I disregarded your instruction. You told me to start at come in and log in at 6:20. I logged in at
Yes.
6:05.
Oh my God.
I must say the last 15, 20 minutes were an eye opener for me also. So, my dear friends who are on this group, I think if this is what you're getting every Saturday, I mean, I'm absolutely zapped because I think while I was listening, I was thinking of what ideas I can put in. And Brijesh, I think a couple of those things were so valid, and I think we just lose the power of our own communication. And
Yes.
we get caught up in our own life about traffic and TR and all the other nonsense. हाँ सॉरी सर आपने हिंदी बोला था माफ कीजिए तो हम लोग आई सेड मैं ब्रिजेश जी को बोल रहे थे कि अभी आई सर ने बोला था 6:15 बजे को ज्वाइन करने के लिए 6:20 को एक्चुअली एग्जैक्ट मैंने उनके इंस्ट्रक्शन डिसरिगार्ड करके 6:05 को ही आ गया था क्योंकि मैं थोड़ा डर रहा हूँ मैं बहुत टाइम के बाद एक वीडियो कॉन्फ्रेंस कर रहा हूँ एक्चुअली ये कोविड के टाइम पे प्रैक्टिकली दिन में 4 होते थे अभी एक्चुअली लास्ट एक साल में ब्रिजेश जी दिस इज द फर्स्ट वन coincidentally by the way
Oh,
I have not done it's all become physical now I think people are happy to go and meet face to face so yes I'm very happy to whenever you're doing that one day program Brijesh please give me 15 minutes I will not
really?
come and speak but I'll just like to come and join you for lunch and listen to you that's
So
all.
nice of so nice of you, Raghav. Lovely, lovely to have you, my dear friend. And actually, we wanted to have this Access event with you for a long time. And
Yeah,
I think it will be a good opportunity for MFDs, me and you, all of us, to discuss about Access, their strategies, and existing fund performance. So I will have some questions to ask you, some deep
sure.
diving questions, and I want your thought process that and as you said you're doing this webinar after a long time after fiscal mint, and we have currently more than almost 300 people logging in, and this video will also be logged in onto YouTube, and
Sure.
thousands of views will come. So your interview today, your answers today will enlighten a lot of mutual fund distributors across the country who have invested in Axis funds, and they want to know your opinion that
Absolutely.
what they should do with existing fund and what should they be idea about Axis funds going forward. So, Raghav, first things first, markets. What is the fund
Ah.
house call?
See, I think अभी क्या हो रहा है Brijesh? I think it's a very interesting phase because if you look at India as a balance sheet, let's look at India as a country. Forget the market, right? Market is ultimately a function of the companies. Companies is a function of the country. Correct. I mean, mota mota, that is the broad equation, right? And we can get more deeper into this, but just for the sake of this time, see, India as a country is in really good shape. I think yes, compared to the world around us, if you, I'm, and बहुत सारे लोग in the last 3 months, I know have gone abroad and have really seen quality of life deterioration in Western countries, right? It's all kinds of nonsense. It's not that India is a great story, but life is all about comparison. So our India balance sheet is quite comfortable. Having said that, we are not an island, right? दुनिया में बहुत सारा टेंशन अभी भी है. Ukraine is going up. I'm sure you read about what is happening in China. They are having their ILFS moment in a much bigger way. The company that is being talked about there is about 150 times larger than ILFS. US is having its own stress. So I think you will see some maybe market. I think market has done what it has had to do in the first half of the year. I think the second half of the year will test our patience in terms of I think if people are coming expecting every month 1 or 2, 3% kind of a return, those people will be maybe a bit disappointed. But I am going back and taking an analogy of your V-shaped SIP, right? So I think you won't have a V. I don't think the V will happen. That's not Axis Mutual Fund thought process. You may have a straight line. Unfortunately, straight line for many investors is market to mar gaya, right? But that's not the way it works. And what we are seeing, at least in our portfolio companies and mota mota, when we look at all management, there is a sense of positivity. So in a way, it is good because if you have a V line, but आपका नीचे level वो समुद्र के नीचे समुद्र is calm, but below the surface, a lot of activity happening, profits happening, capacities increasing, interest rates going flat, etc., consumers coming back. It's very good because that means that 2024, 2025, we are building a very solid base. So, the interesting thing which is happening, Brijesh, in the last 3 months, especially, is a lot of money moving out of large caps, getting into small and mid cap funds. Nothing wrong in that. Just for my partners, I want to tell you because mid caps and small caps are in equities always bet pause in a time of stress. And unfortunately, most of us, and that is where people like you add a lot of value, because 99% of investors come in when the market is at peak. 1 or 2% of investors actually come in during March 24, 2020. And if I go back and see March 24, 2020, 90% of those 90% of that 5% investors who came in were people who were advised by somebody like you who are listening to you all today, right? So I think you have to tell investors that one, mid cap, small cap, you have to extend the horizon. Earnings are good, but typically you are coming in at a time where already there has been a lot of movement, especially in last 1 year return. So if people are expecting एक साल जो पहले हुआ था repeat, normally never happens. But I don't think we should get worried. In fact, newspapers will be all over the place. I'm reading a very interesting book right now. Newspapers and media cannot sell when life is good. They sell only when life is bad. So even if life is good, their job is to try and make it as bad as possible, right? Something or the other will come, and their job is to amplify it. My request to all of you is that you all are all people who are creating, making dreams into reality for your customers using financial planning. So please keep that clear thought process in your mind. Do things like what Brijesh has said. There is a lot of money to be invested. That's the only positive thing I can tell you. People are just very nervous and very lethargic at this point of time. Given a choice, if somebody says, मैं आपको एक free holiday दे दूंगा, people will queue up for it. But if you tell them, sir, market में डाल दो without a good story like what I heard from 6.5 to 6.15 without some background, just calling up somebody and saying, sir, market 1% नीचे डाल दीजिए, there is a 80% chance somebody will say, no, 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 it's going to go further down. But if you can build it into a story, it's fine. So I think mota, if one were to take a 3 or 5 year view, I think we are in a phenomenal place. You should not worry. But at the same time, please be careful of how much your equity allocation is. That all of you only know. I cannot give you that answer. Each client has its own individual problems. People think that a young guy should put more in equity, but maybe a young guy has a loan, cannot put that much in equity. People have this view that 65-year-old people should not put in equity. I can tell you, my father is 82 years, Brijesh. He has a 60% allocation to equity.
I understand.
Because he doesn't need the money. I mean, I'm very
Correct.
clear about it. He has enough current income, touch wood, grace of God, he's fine. I don't need it, and he does. He is happy to take risk. So हर आदमी का एक अलग अलग तरीका
Correct.
होता है देखना. ब्रिजेश और मैं आपको एक थोड़ा टिप दे सकते हैं, but you cannot apply that formula. So please check their equity allocation. If it is many people had not invested in equity at all in 2022 because of all the issues. अगर उनका पैसा ही नहीं लगा हुआ है तो थोड़ा थोड़ा डिले करके डाल सकते हैं. STP is a nice emotional way to do it, but I can only tell you one interesting fact. STP का first installment or last installment देखोगे तो last installment is always higher than the first installment.
Yeah, I know. That's a good point. That's a very interesting point. It's only an
तो ये सर ये हमारे लिए है that we try to tell the customer, don't worry sir, ये आप average करके डाल दीजिए. So ठीक है, that is all right.
behavior
Nothing
again.
wrong.
It handles
Nothing.
again.
Yeah.
So मोटा मोटी what Raghav is saying that कि अगर लंबा टाइम है तो डाल दो, zero allocation है तो डाल दो, और 100% allocation है तो मत डालो, because it depends upon customer to customer. Perfect. Raghav, Axis has always talked about quality investing, and this is what the topic of the program today. Would you like to elaborate on the investment philosophy of Axis? And I have a couple of follow-up questions on that. Has it changed in the last 2-3 years? Number one. Number two, what do you mean by quality investing, and how is it different or similar to growth investing?
See, I think quality investing, Axis has always had this stance, Brijesh, and this is much. I mean, I've been in the fund house now for about 4 years. मैं कोशिश करूंगा सर हिंदी बात
हिंदी
करने
इंग्लिश
की.
में आप
Sorry,
आधा आधा बोल सकते हैं, because ये हमेशा
I'm South Indian by nature, तो मुझे थोड़ा बहुत तकलीफ होता है. But मैं कोशिश करूंगा. I have to then come to Brijesh for
half an
separate
hour.
classes. But yes, so I think importantly, Axis has always believed in what we call responsible investing, right? That means you put into companies which are having a very good chance to be market leaders in their individual investments. And most of us, in fact, somebody has made a very valid point today that quality investing actually, Brijesh, or is done by everyone in the mutual fund industry. See, nobody goes in the mutual industry में कोई जाके बोलता नहीं है क्या मैं bad quality company ले रहा हूँ, right? Quality is one set where we are adding a slightly different dimension into numbers. एक तो obviously number variation होती है. So you will examine all. For us, our biggest numbers are return on equity, return on capital. And the third biggest number, which most people don't look at, is what is the kind of free cash a company is able to throw. तो आप लास्ट शीट, हम लोग एक्चुअली जब आप बैलेंस शीट पढ़ोगे, जहाँ पे ये थोड़ा मैं सीए हूँ, ब्रिजेश जी सीए है, तो व्हेन यू गो, मोस्ट पीपल गो फ्रॉम लेफ्ट टू राइट, वी गो उल्टा एक्चुअली. तो वी गो फ्रॉम नोट्स टू अकाउंट्स, फिर उसके बाद अपना फ्री कैश फ्लो स्टेटमेंट आता है, फिर शेड्यूल्स आते हैं, फिर पीएनएल आता है, फिर बैलेंस शीट आता है, फिर डायरेक्टर्स रिपोर्ट आता है. दैट इज, आप उल्टा पढ़ोगे. मोस्ट पीपल गो द अदर वे, बिकॉज वो डायरेक्टर्स रिपोर्ट, ऑडिटर्स रिपोर्ट पढ़ पढ़ के वो करेंगे. नाउ इफ यू गो लुक एट द फ्री कैश फ्लो स्टेटमेंट, आप वो देखोगे, दैट इज अ वेरी गुड sign of what the company is actually doing with your money, right? And how are they able to throw cash? So for us, quality is also an overline of free cash. Very, very important. एक थोड़ा एक subjective element आ जाता है, because see, we have been dealing with many. If you look at our portfolios, there are companies which are in the portfolio, Brijesh, for the last 7-8 years. Uh, in some form or the other. They may be at points of time top 3, they may be at points of time top 10, they may be 12, but they've never gone out of the portfolio. That is a question of valuations, but they are there in the portfolio because we really trust the management. How do you trust the management? Exactly like how when you and I are talking. If Prijesh and I have a conversation and Prijesh says, I will do 1, 2, 3 things, and one quarter later we check and he has done those 1, 2, 3 things, then he says, I'll do 4, 5, 6 things. But if he says, I'll do ABC and then does PQR, तो हमारा थोड़ा ट्रस्ट एलिमेंट निकल जाता है. That's why you see many companies we don't like to buy, because, and especially when you look at some of the PSU companies, that's a problem, because PSUs have various different uh, agendas, right? अभी आप देखोगे, if you go back to 2012-13, one of the jobs of the PSU oil companies was to subsidize this petroleum prices. That is not good for the shareholder. May be very good for the nation, may be very good for the consumer. क्योंकि आप $20-25 के लॉस आप ले रहे हो अपने बुक्स, बट एज अ शेयर होल्डर आप मार खा रहे हो, which is where sometimes we tend to avoid that. But off late, we have even started looking at that. So we don't have any closed, bolte hai, Axis doesn't buy PSU, wo galat hai. We are buying. We have, in fact, we have a reasonably good allocation to SBI. We have a good allocation to Bharat Dynamics. तो जहाँ पे आपको पॉकेट्स लगता है, जहाँ पे ये थोड़ा एक फिल्टर आ जाता है, where management is saying something, doing exactly the same, financial ratios are fine, and then more importantly, it is a sustainable business over a 5-10 year period. I think for that, for me, Bridges, that is very important. We call it the constant compounder theory, right? If a company can give me 14-15% visibility compounding over the next 5 years, that is the first filter I will take. That is why we don't like buying some of these momentum companies. हमको समझ में नहीं आता. People tell us, आप इतने बड़े फंड हाउस हो, 1.5 लाख करोड़ इक्विटी मैनेज करते हो, आपके पास इतने रिसर्च एनालिस्ट है, एक्सेट्रा एक्सेट्रा, आपने कैसे मिस कर दिया इसको? But we are not in the business of trying to find something which is at 20 rupees going to 18 rupees and going back to 22 rupees. We would rather buy something at 20 rupees which we feel over 5 years can become 40 rupees with minimum disruption. होते ऊपर नीचे होता ही है. I mean, every company goes through its own problems. So this is broadly, Brijesh, our theory, and that is the same. Now, coming to whether we have changed or no, see, we are very clear now. I think over the last, especially over the last 3 years, we have realized that Axis has stood for one style. Now, इसमें क्या होता है, and all of you are in some sense beneficiaries and are also unfortunately victims of it. 2010 to 2020, the quality and growth style did extremely well. So market was very concentrated and was looking at about 60-70 companies, because everybody wanted to be in companies in those days which have a certain visibility of earnings, visibility of profit, visibility of governance. Correct? So too much attention went on to 80-90 companies. Fortunately, because of our philosophy, Bridges, we already had significant holdings in many of those companies and they did very well. Now, what has happened in 2020 after COVID? I think the market breadth went up. We also have gone up. It's not that we've not gone up. Just to give you a sense, we used to cover about 200 companies in our research portfolio. Today, we cover about 384 companies. And actually, people say, "नहीं sir, 384 तो बहुत कम है." That's not correct. Actually, if you look at it, हमारे investable universe में you cannot go beyond 550 companies.
Correct.
I'm talking about mutual fund as an industry. I mean,
Correct.
yes, as an individual, yes, you can buy much more. But if Axis Mutual Fund were to go and buy 1% of a company, it has to have a certain minimum market cap, certain minimum float, certain minimum impact cost. वो सब देख के तो 500 कंपनी के ऊपर तो हमको दिखता नहीं, which is actually a long-term problem for India. Hopefully, more companies will come in the next decade, which will make that 500 into 1,000. Nahi to you and I will have a bigger problem. We will be putting money into equities, but fund managers will not have a place to invest actually. But coming back to Axis, I think what we have done is we have now moved, our core funds will continue to run growth and quality. focus blue chip, this thing, apna long-term equity fund, flexi cap to some extent. Okay, these four will continue because you have given me money based on that particular philosophy. I cannot change the philosophy. But the new funds that we are launching, value fund, business cycle fund, quant fund, and these are now funds which are reasonably large. Value abhi, it started at some 40-50 crore fund. We didn't take much money because we also were trying to test as to how do we add value in a value fund. But it has done well now, so we are happy to promote. Quant fund has just finished 2 years. We are seeing if that fund is done as the formulas are coming correct. That's also done well. हमारा बिजनेस साइकिल अभी 5-6 महीने पहले लॉन्च हुआ था. दैट्स आल्सो डन वेल. एंड इसमें आप देखोगे ब्रिजेश, मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंटली उसमें पोर्टफोलियो कॉमनैलिटी है ही नहीं. एक नॉर्मली क्या होता है, एक फंड मैनेजर 3-4 स्कीम रन करता है. लार्जली दोस 3 schemes will have 50-60% commonality stocks. In Axis, that was a problem because in our entire portfolio of 5-6 schemes, you had about 60-70% commonality of stocks. We are bringing that down. Commonality we are bringing down. And the other thing is, of course, we used to use a lot of cash to manage market volatility. Now we are saying, no, investor is giving me money, advisor is giving me money. My job is to deploy. So we have reduced our cash levels also. So mota broadly, yes, we have increasing. How are we doing this? I think, of course, we have a set of new people who are joining us. We are now doing, we are getting somebody new for hybrid. So hybrid, हमारा balanced advantage fund या equity hybrid fund were not doing very well. It is something, I don't know if you remember, Brijesh, 1 year back when we met in Calcutta for after a long time. आपने बताया था, Raghav, you need to do something about this. And I need to do it because it's very important, because Axis is a household brand. And I believe that as a first-time investor, hybrid funds is a good place to start your investment journey. Hello? Yeah, so I guess that's, so we are now getting a new team of people. Already 5 people have come in, 4 have been promoted. 1 has come in, and 2 more people are coming from outside. We have a new CIO who has joined us 4-5 months back. Existing team is there, but we are adding new people. So existing funds will continue to run with some minor changes, but the new funds will be very, very different compared to what used to be the earlier Axis time. So the idea is that we will come to you and say that, yaar, ये हमारे पास पूरा बुके है. अभी आपको value पसंद है, तो 2 years, 3 years back, if you wanted to invest in a value fund, you came to Axis. I did not have value fund. Right? Axis was only known for growth. So I would tell you, sir, एक काम करो, आप 100 रुपया डाल रहे हो मार्केट में, मुझे मेरा 10-15 रुपया दे दीजिए ग्रोथ वाला, और whatever else 80-85 rupees you give out. Today I'm saying I'm equally good. I want more of your wallet. आप आके मुझे से ले लो. That's all.
So this is quite interesting, and the point you made that Axis as a fund house now has diversified into value, business cycle, and other things. But I want to dig a little deeper into the audience question that you see, नए फंड की बात ठीक है राघव, लेकिन डिस्ट्रीब्यूटर और इन्वेस्टर का पैसा ब्लू चिप फंड में लगा है, फ्लेक्सी कैप फंड में लगा हुआ है, और डिस्ट्रीब्यूटर ये पूछ रहे हैं और वो आपसे जानना चाहेंगे कि मेरे क्लाइंट की एसआईपी इन दोनों फंड में चल रही है, मेरे क्लाइंट का पैसा इन दोनों फंड में लगा, व्हाटएवर अदर फंड्स आल्सो.
Absolutely.
How long should I expect it will take for these funds to turn around? Should I sell these funds and invest in your value and other funds because value is doing well and growth is not doing well in the last 2-3 years? Especially Axis के funds में थोड़ा underperformance आया, and I give you the credit of phenomenal performance over the last decades. But as you say, in the hedge fund industry, वो कहते हैं ना, you are only good as the last quarter.
Oh,
So
yeah, absolutely.
in the mutual fund industry, they say you are only good as the last 3 साल पहले का performance,
Oh,
last
yeah.
1 साल का performance.
That
So
is, yes, I agree. So my point, Brijesh, was that, and thanks to people like you, I remember when I started my life in 1999, we used to actually measure funds on weekly performance. So I think thanks to people like you coming in, now at least people are giving us 3 years. But yeah, I think coming to your point, I think there are 2 problems. I think, see, Blue Chip and Flexi Cap are both run by Shreyas. Shreyas is our head of equity now. So he runs about 85,000 crores of assets, where he's the primary fund manager. The biggest 2 are, of course, Blue Chip and Flexi Cap, right? In the case of Blue Chip, we have taken, and this is not something, ये नई बात नहीं है, ये बहुत, ये जब से fund चालू हुआ है, हम लोग, we are following this. We are 100% large cap in the large cap space. Now, if you go as per the regulator nomenclature, You can put up to 80% in large cap, 20% आप बाकी stock में डाल सकते हैं. So if you take my competition, for example, वहाँ पे people have 10, 15, 18% in mid cap, small cap, right? And nothing wrong in that. वो एक हर आदमी का एक style होता है. We have decided that we will be only in the large cap space. That is, we will focus 99% or 98% of our portfolio in the top 100 stocks. So obviously last 1 year, not having mid caps and small caps, and even in a blue chip portfolio, has hurt the 1 year performance. Number two, I think a couple of our ideas didn't play out very well. I think especially a few stocks like Infosys, for example, didn't deliver. We had a very high overweight position. Obviously, you are seeing what is happening, but now we have actually corrected that. Now, what will happen? I think importantly is that see, we're not changing the style. So I think blue chip will remain a growth and quality portfolio. What we are very comfortable with in blue chip is, most importantly, is that my value of my companies, if I look at the earnings, if I look at the profit, if I look at the free cash flow, Bridges, they are much, much better than what they were last year and much, much better than what they were 3 years back. So it's a very peculiar situation where something is where the company value is actually increasing. Intrinsic value जो बोलते हैं, company का value होता है, वो बढ़ रहा है. पर उनका stock में अभी तक activity चालू नहीं है, because other parts of the market are seeing more attention at this point. Now, as you know, market works in cycles. Till 2020, it was a growth cycle. 20 to 23 so far has been a bit of a value cycle. Last 6 months mein, since interest rates have started coming a little down, growth has started coming back slowly. So my belief is that one thing to watch is when interest rates start going a bit flat abroad, or they start coming down. Now that question is a difficult question because there are too many people, there are too many circumstances around it. In fact, we were thinking June tak ke interest rate cutenge. But then suddenly inflation went up in the US, etc., etc. And then again, now the commentary is that, yeah, we last or 2-3 maybe quarters, maybe interest rate will go up, right? So I think the important thing for us is to make sure that we stick to style. Our funds, our stocks are performing well. And I think you have to give it patience. My belief is that I think actually a couple of very large partners, wealth partners, have actually given a very big buy call on blue chip fund, because they are saying that last 3 year underperformance, but stocks are doing well. If I have to invest for the next 5 years, I'm getting blue chip at a discount.
Yeah, I get it.
And the same logic is applying to flexi cap also, because unfortunately, there also Shreyas has the same fund manager. So there it's more a stock specific issue. It's not a mid cap, small cap issue, because in flexi cap, we have about 20% in mid and small cap. So that problem is not there, but the problem is on a couple of stocks, which again has started to pick up a little bit. Right?
So frankly, Raghav, I agree with your point of cycle reversion. I am a strong believer that if you have to follow one indicator as an investor or a distributor, it's a cycle reversion, that this year large cap is doing well, next year it will not do well, something else will do well, next year that mid cap will not do well, and small cap will do well, or the metals are doing well this year, growth is doing well this year, so next 2 years maybe value. This is exactly happened in the case of Axis also. My question, and I personally believe that growth story will come back. It has to happen. My only worry is, and I want your opinion on this, my only worry is there are a few funds houses where this underperformance, whatever word you use to define underperformance, has stressed quite long, beyond 2 years. So let's say it has stressed to 3 to 4 to 5 years. My only worry, and mutual fund on behalf of MFDs, I want to ask you this. What is your opinion that flexi or mid cap or whatever blue chip fund? I think investors are okay to wait for another year. MFDs are okay to wait for another year. So I have two questions with you. If investors want to put in more money in Axis, they should give you in the business cycles or the values or the blue chips or the flexi caps. And what is the rationale?
See, I am not going to go there, Brijesh, because I am not the allocator of capital. My job as a manufacturer is to create distinct portfolios and have distinct objectives for distinct funds, right? What we used to have in the past, and I'm talking 2020, is that we used to have a very common style across all our portfolios. Now we have changed that. I think if you see business cycle as a very different portfolio. value as a very different portfolio. My belief, and this is coming from Raghav Iyengar as a person, not Raghav Iyengar as CBO of Axis, that I am a believer of reversion to mean. So I am, and I have lived. Largely I have had the experience of working in two large fund houses. I have experienced massive disappointment, like many of my friends are writing in the chat. Funds have not done well, etc., etc. I have experienced that disappointment in my previous organization, and I can see, and I know Brijesh, but in the last 3-4 years, you have. So my belief is that you have to have a bit of a mix of styles because you have to be extremely lucky to be able to catch the right style and the right market cap at all points of time. I mean, it's very, very, very rare that somebody is able to pick that up, right? So I think today, Axis Blue Chip, for example, of FlexiCap is a very powerful example of growth and quality investing. It hasn't done well in the last 3 years, but if you take a decade kind of a performance, it beats a lot of indexes. The quality index is way above the value index or even the growth index, for example, and does this with much lesser what we call drawdowns. See, I think that's the other thing which quality and does for you, because when if the shares don't fall, value sometimes, if you get into a value trap, and we have seen that in the last 8-10 years, you can have serious dilution or drawdown of your investment. That does not happen much in quality. Quality is always a relative performance game, but it's a good capital protector, if I may use that word, in the drawdown stage. So I think you should have a mix of various portfolios. And given what I'm doing, I'm actually topping up Axis, not because I work here. Even if I was not working in Axis, I would have topped up here. And for me, I think the fact is that a lot of my competitors are actually launching funds which are very similar to growth styles right now. So that for me is a moment of happiness that our style seems to be coming back. And when it comes back very, very, very strongly. And that's the beauty of equity. I know that many people are very upset. So am I. I must share because, like you, I mean, as an investor, I'm a large investor with Axis. More importantly, April 22 onwards, our skin in the game started, right? So today, 20% of my salary goes into Axis funds. So I can see the relative performance there because I'm also investing in other funds. So I completely agree with all my friends. जो भी आप बोल रहे हो, chat पे डाल रहे हो, I completely agree with you. I'm not ashamed of it. Let me put it this way. There is a
Sure.
certain style. I feel आप हमारे portfolio देखोगे, you will not find any names where you will be worried about. So that gives me a lot of confidence. Those quality names are there. The performance of those stocks are good. Now it's only a matter of time, Brijesh, as to when the market starts recognizing that performance. Now, is it going to be 23 end or 24? I'm not sure. These things take time. But normally, this is the second year of our underperformance cycle in that sense. We started doing badly in 21, 22 now. This is roughly the third year. Typically, every 2 to 3 years, the cycle reverses. That's the normal data that comes. But we are in an uncertain world, so 3 years can become 3.5 years also. But my request is please continue to keep SIPs going. If you can top up, top up. In terms of putting in other funds, we are giving you a choice now. So if you have a business cycle investor, please look at Axis Business Cycle Fund. It's doing very well. It has a very different portfolio. If you're looking at a quant fund, please look at Axis. If you're looking at value, please look at Axis. They are very different from our existing funds, which is a big change from what used to be there maybe 2-3 years back.
Okay, Raghav, so I will make an observation here as a
Yeah.
neutral person right now, for the benefit of Axis as well as the MFDs who are on call right now. And I want to make a neutral observation. Raghav, I fully agree and understand your point of view, and I endorse it. And I want to tell mutual fund distributors a couple of points. And of course, there is a lot of pain, I understand, from investors. But I want to suggest this, that investors always chase performance. And mutual fund advisors, distributors tell their clients that please don't chase performance because cycle changes.
True.
Now, the problem with mutual fund distributors is that they also chase performance and they are unhappy with performance if it is not well with fund houses. My question to mutual fund distributors as a neutral person is this: today, Axis is not doing well, and you put your money out of Axis or allocate money to some other performing fund. Tomorrow, that fund will underperform, and then you will take money out or start investing in a third fund. And tomorrow, that fund will underperform. What will you do? You have a universe of only 5-7 top fund houses. So if the investor is making the same mistake of churning the portfolio and punishing the non-performers, and if mutual fund distributors also do that, it means when Axis or any other fund starts performing, your fund is not there and your SIPs are not there and your investors will miss the upturn. When it will happen, I don't know. But I tell you, Raghav, and I sympathize with mutual fund distributors here, that
Yeah,
they have been waiting and
yeah,
we will wait. And I think we should wait. But if this waiting goes beyond a particular point, so it's almost 3 years, then it is a lot of pain that you start losing client. But
absolutely.
I think MFDs need to introspect. Are they doing something different than their investors? What they are doing, they're shifting lanes, and and we promote that don't shift lanes and don't shift funds and don't shift AMCs. Today, Axis is that at a threshold. And my thought is this, that one fund house manager, a very famous fund manager, said this, and his words keep echoing me, that investors always will be in pain because if my fund and if they double their money every 5 years, one fund house will double the money in will go up by 15-20% year on year basis. One fund house will lose half the money and then they double after 5 years, and my fund house will not perform for 4 years, and fifth year it doubles. All three fund houses have done the same thing, but you penalize me because I'm underperformed for 4 years. That's okay, but you invested for 5 years. So if you're invested for 5 years and if your time horizon was 5 years, and this message is to all the mutual fund distributors and investors, that if your time horizon is 5 years as a mutual fund distributor, then you need to give that time frame to any fund house before expecting dramatic results. Underperformance is part of business, part of life, part of AMCs. I leave this decision of mutual fund distributor, whether they will like to top up excess or in the fund house or withdraw. It's completely their call. But I think before anybody does that, you need to have this thought process. So with this, what I will do, Raghav, it's a wonderful talk, but keeping in mind the timelines, I will take some questions, and you are also free to take some questions from the chat box as well as the Q&A
Sure,
box. And
sure.
please try to answer because there are some reasonable questions. And I know these are difficult times for Axis in terms of you're coming back, of course, very strongly. But if you can answer some of the question, it will be quite
I think
appreciated.
the one thing which I'd like to just talk about is the issue, because I think we had a problem last year, right? And yes, I think it's not something which we are proud about. I think front running is a very serious crime in capital markets, right? I think the only thing मैं एक ही चीज बोलना चाहता हूँ to our partners. I think importantly we suspected something, we investigated it, we found something, and then we took action, and then we have reported it to regulator. Regulator has also come out with an interim report. अगर आप February March के website में चले जाओगे तो you will see that there is a 96-page report. It is very, very detailed. I mean, and regulator has done an amazing job. And frankly, till then, we were also not very clear because we could only see our side of the story. We could not see the top. Regulator has access to the entire system. But in that report, if you see, it's an interim report. Broadly, they have the onus on that is completely on that particular person who has committed that fraud, right? And it has happened, unfortunately, at a time where we were at work from home at a COVID period. That it has happened roughly in that 6-9 month period. Uh, Amount of money also is not significant. It's people are talking of thousands of crores. That's not. I think the total value is some 32 crores. So when you look at 32 crores on an asset base of 1,60,000 crores, it's not a big amount. But yes, is it something that we are unhappy about? Very much. So we have had a lot of changes. I mean, as I said, in this group, we've changed we have a new CIO. So our earlier CEO was also doing a role as CIO. We have a new CEO, we have a new CIO, we have a new risk head. We have an entirely different, we have added new people on the fund management side. So those changes have happened. And please appreciate that they have happened quite fast. I mean, exactly 1 year back, we were going through this problem, and it has happened in a matter of 9, 10, 11 months. I think the Axis group has taken action, and then we have moved. Uh, what have we done? We have now got 3, 4 things we have done, British. We have put into place a very possibly first of its kind in India as an online surveillance system. So it's been developed with Bloomberg. So as trades are happening, the risk people can see whether there is any variance in terms of price. I don't think this is there anywhere else. Obviously, when an incident like this happens, compliance goes the other extreme. So everything is screen based now. There are no voice calls at all. So earlier dealing used to happen obviously a lot on the phone. Everything is now on the computer. our dealing team has been expanded. We used to have 2 people, now there are 4 people. So I think importantly, those issues are there. Yes, is the SEBI final order? Obviously, will is yet expected. What will come, I don't know. But if you see the interim order, it is not. It is largely the onus of the person on the other side. I think when we look at it internally, yes, it's something we feel sad about. But I think importantly, you must tell your clients that this was an issue which was found out internally by Axis, investigated, action was taken, and then reported, and then obviously regulator has also obviously done much more detailed investigation, and that investigation may be yet happening. But importantly is that we have not tried to sweep it under the carpet or try to forget about it. And I think that is corporate governance. If you ask me, Bridges, that is quality. You asked me a question in the beginning of the talk that what is quality? This is quality. Yes, many of you are. I'm upset, obviously, because it is not something that come. But in financial services, this is a live risk. ये risk होता है. Why do frauds happen? Why does it happens? Because of greed sometimes. And some of the biggest frauds are done by very, very rich people. They're not done by poor people. And it's just because you have a certain level of income doesn't make you happy. You want more. And then that tends you to do other things. So that was number one. I think I saw on the chat that yes, clients are getting upset. I completely agree. This last 3 years has been a bit of a setback for us. I think 22, we were, I think, very poised to come back. I think the Ukraine war actually created a huge amount of unnecessary I won't say, and it created a very different set of variables, which frankly nobody was able to predict. I think in February, our view was that the war will get done in 15, 20 days. But it's now almost 15, 18 months, and it doesn't seem to be getting, it seems to be getting worse. What has that done? I will say, उससे हमारे लाइफ में क्या फर्क पड़ता है? Fact is, हमारे लाइफ में फर्क पड़ता है क्योंकि input cost went up, interest cost went up, supply chains got broken. वो सब टूट गया, and that is now slowly getting repaired. Now world is getting used to a world where this conflict is happening, but धंधा तो चलना ही है, and that is yet happening today. So I think that set us back by about a year, year and a half. I can only again stress this only point again and again to all of you that हमारे underlying companies are doing very, very well. Most of them are actually beating expectations. Most of them are doing very well on all the financial parameters. Yes, their stocks are not in flavor for whatever reason. That is obviously a stock rotation thing. Brijesh knows that more than I do. There are certain sectors, certain themes which do very well. They fade in, fade out. Now, when will they come back? I'm not sure. But we are not changing our portfolios. Yes, have we added new stocks? Yes. Have we reduced some extensive positions in some of them? Yes. Where we have made mistakes, have we cut the positions? Yes. But does that mean I will just completely switch from growth to value? No, that we will not do. You have all given me money for growth. We will believe in that. We believe in growth. India is a growth story. I think at some stage that will come back. And that's where I request your patience. I mean, the best thing, and it's very easy for me to say this, but I am doing it, is that I'm adding more money of my personal money and my family money and money which friends, family, who listen to me, I'm asking them to put there. And in fact, the funds that you spoke about, Bridges, both like Blue Chip and FlexiCap are doing really well in terms of portfolio. Valuations are bad. So I think I'm getting something at a discount. I know I have to be patient, and I expect that because the same money I put in 22, even after 1 year, has not done very well compared to competition and markets, right? But I think I've seen in equity, and we have seen this many times in our life. Brijesh must have seen it 6 times. I've seen it 5 times. When the performance picks up, 1 year, like somebody asked me about Focus 25, and you just go back and see Focus 25 performance in March 31st, 2023, 1 year return, and look at the performance on June 30th, 2023 in one quarter, just 90 days, just 90 days, and you will get the answer to the question which I was talking about. Just 90 days. And, we were quartile 4, and it just in that one quarter, it just sort of went back. So I think, yes, I don't think comparing us to other MFs and all that is not correct. I think it's important. Every fund house has its style. We have a certain style. We are not going to change it. We are making modifications to it. We are very, very closely watching the companies. हम लोग बहुत गहरी तरह से देख रहे हैं. अगर कंपनी हमारा expectation meet नहीं कर रहा है, तो we are going away. There is no emotion attached to it. We have made some changes to the team and to the way we run funds. Please just give us some time. As Brijesh said, equity is a long-term investment. And if there is conviction in Axis, please add a little more. That's my request.
It was wonderful. It is so nice of you to clarify so many things, Raghav. And my best wishes is with you and Axis to come over this. You're already doing well in the last few quarters, and I hope the performance comes back. I hope investors make money in Axis, and I'm very sure they will. These are tough times for Axis as a fund house, and of course there's a lot of pain from investors and distributors, and we need to respect that, because मैंने अपना पैसा डाला है, मेरे क्लाइंट का पैसा डाला है, उन्होंने मेरे पे भरोसा करके डाला है, तो पेन होता है, उसको बर्दाश्त कर रहे हैं हम, और ये उम्मीद करते हैं कि ये पेन बहुत ज्यादा दिन तक नहीं रहेगा, and I'm very sure that Axis will come back. So a wonderful talk, and friends, please don't go away. We will have a few minutes of discussion after Raghav on this Axis thing. I would like to answer some of your questions, but Raghav, thank you so much for being on the call, and I sincerely believe that Axis is a good fund house, and you guys will do very well in the future.
Thank you very much, friends, and again, thank you so much for your support. Thank you. Look forward to being with again. Bye bye. Have a nice weekend.